Hi guys, Amy Elizabeth here. So as you can probably see from my background and my top, today's video is going to be Harry Potter themed. What a surprise! Basically, I have decided this is what I'm going to be doing with my hair the whole time because it's super fluffy and really annoying. I've decided for today's video I'm going to do a top 10 list of my favourite moments from the Harry Potter books. I have been doing some research. Wait, they're the wrong way around. Okay, that'll do. I've been doing some research. Okay, gone. They're gone. This is something I don't think I've actually really talked about with anyone before. Like I've said, oh, I love this bit or I love this bit. But I don't think I've ever really ranked them because there's just so many moments in there that I don't know where to put them or what order to put them in. So I've sort of tried, and I have my list over here, so I'm going to be looking over here a bit. So we're just going to try it, we're going to see how it goes. Number 10, I nearly did 5. 10. Number 10, Dumbledore's full backstory. This is one of my favourite moments because when Harry dies, obviously in the Forbidden Forest after going to Voldemort, he turns up on platform 9 3/4, King's Cross, whatever you want to call it, with Dumbledore. And they sit down and they have the conversation about, oh, why is this? Why is this? Why have you been lying to me the whole time? And I just absolutely adore finding out all about Dumbledore and his backstory and how he kind of feels responsible for killing his sister and all this sorts of different stuff. Obviously we know about what Aberforth has said about Ariana, and we just find out about Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and it was so nice to finally understand Dumbledore as a person because throughout all of the books he's just such a mysterious character, and he kind of has that knowledgeable air about him, but I just feel you don't really get to know him as a person, and we see through him obviously through Harry's eyes, but I'm not sure that we as a reader get the opportunity to make a full assessment of him until this point when he talks about his life story. And also that story is obviously what's gonna create the kind of setting for the entirety of the new Fantastic Beasts canon plot, so I'm really excited about that. Number 9. I'm 23, why can't I count? Number 9, Molly hugging Harry. Now I know that she hugs him a lot, but there is one specific point in the books, I can't remember what book it is, and I can't remember why. There's that passageway which says something along the lines of Molly hugged him and Harry could never recall being hugged in this way before, as if by a mother, and I'm just gonna cry my absolute eyes out because it's just, oh god, it just kills me every time. It's at number 9 because the rest of these moments are I feel more prominent in my memory, but I just had to put it in there because it's just so heart-wrenching, and it's the one sentence that manages to make me cry every time, when it's just oh god, ugh, no, horrible, but also lovely at the same time, which is why it's a number 9. Number 8, Sant Mungo's and Gilderoy Lockhart. I love this part of the book. Most of the moments in this list are from Order of the Phoenix because Jesus, it is my favourite book. But this is from, I have it written down, chapter 23, Christmas on the Closed Ward. Oh my god, this chapter is so great because obviously this is after Mr. Weasley's been attacked by the snake in the Department of Mysteries, or outside the Department of Mysteries, and they all go to St Mungo's to visit him once he's sort of awake and healed again and all this sort of stuff, healing again. I think Harry, Hermione, Ginny and Ron go for a wander when Molly and Arthur start arguing about his stitches, his muggle stitches. So they go wandering up to floor 4 or 5 or whatever it is. Who do they run into? None other than Gilderoy Lockhart himself. Obviously Gilderoy having cast the memory charm on himself accidentally with Ron's wand, and it's just a fantastic sort of return almost from a character that you thought you were never gonna see again, and I love it. And just that whole thing of them looking through the window and all of a sudden this blonde haired guy just appears at the window, and it's oh my god, it's Gilderoy Lockhart. It just makes me laugh every single time. And the fact that he's like trying to give them autographs and stuff, and the nurses are like, he's almost like remembering who he is and he's giving out autographs and stuff, and I just love it. It's so funny. Number 8, the Triwizard Tournament Maze Tasks. Where is that book? Here. Not that one, that's here. Dear God, was this great. I loved the maze tasks in the books. They definitely didn't do it justice in the films. Trying to remember them now. The Sphinx with the riddle was phenomenal. Like, when she was giving him that riddle, I was like, oh my god, I know what this is. Like, it's a spider, this is fantastic. Like, and just that kind of air of mystery of not knowing what was going to come up in the maze was so good. And they're like the creatures that Hagrid had submitted. I think it was blast-ended scroots or whatever it was that was in there, and it was just such an extraordinary task. Personally, one of my favourites. Like, I didn't really like the first two, but the maze was so, because I feel like I could feel myself doing that, just being able to work out like the clues and kind of riddles and everything that was in there was just fantastic. I just highly loved that task as a whole. Wish it had been in the films, because that maze section needed more, I feel, to give it the kind of gravitas that it has in the books. But it was just so fantastic, and I just adore the way it was done. Did I say number 7 at the beginning of that? That was number 7, in case I didn't. Number 6, my 2 favourite pranks from Fred and George Weasley were the Tongue Toffee that they give to Dudley. Oh my god, it makes me laugh every single time. Just the way they like drop them and know he's gonna pick them up and eat them, and then his tongue just sort of explodes out of his mouth and all over the floor, and everyone's just panicking. It's just the way you can picture the sort of horror on Mr. Weasley's face when he's like, what have you done? And they're trying to fix it, and then they're like, no, get away from our son, you've ruined him. And then Fred and George just like hopping into the fireplace. I just love it. Such a fantastic sequence of events, because you just can picture them absolutely howling with laughter, and it just makes me laugh so much. And then my other favourite prank that they've ever done was the unremovable swamps in Hogwarts when Umbridge was headmistress, and just the fact that Flitwick and McGonagall and everyone just refused to help her clean them up. I love it. Like, it's their kind of like silent little rebellion of like, oh, I don't know, everything we do to it just seems to be making it worse. Like, oh no, I'm sorry, you don't need our help. Like, you can sort this on your own, bitch. I just find it absolutely phenomenal. Okay, number 5. I can now officially do number 5 without it being wrong. Number 5 is Harry defending McGonagall in the Deathly Hallows. I adored this bit. Chapter 30, page 477. Yes, I've written all this down because I'm a nerd. The sacking of Severus Snape. What a fantastic bit this was. So this is when Harry and Luna go up to the Ravenclaw common room to try and find the diadem. They get caught by, is it Amicus in there? Alecto. They get caught by Alecto, and she summons the Dark Lord, and Amicus goes up to the Ravenclaw common room like, what are you doing? Why have you summoned him? And the door won't let him in. So along comes McGonagall and is all like, why are you trying to break into the Ravenclaw common room? So Amicus is like, she's got Potter. If she's not got Potter, we're in trouble, and blah blah blah. So she opens the door, lets him in, and he's like, oh yeah, but if she's called the Dark Lord when we haven't got Potter, then we're in trouble, so let's blame it on the kids. And McGonagall's like, you ain't touching nobody at Hogwarts, bizarch. And he then goes, you ain't got no control over me anymore, and spits in her face. Ooh, the rage, the absolute fuming rage I felt during this bit, and I can totally understand why Harry then leaps to defend her, because he just literally pulls the cloak off and goes, you shouldn't have done that, and crucios him right in the middle of the room. And it's just one of my favourite moments when she's like, Potter, you're here? What? It's just like fantastic. Like, yeah, you go, Harry. You absolutely pin it to that guy. He deserved it. He should not have spat McGonagall. She is a queen, an absolute saint. Number 4. Again, Order of the Phoenix. I told you this one's my favourite. The Department of Mysteries. Oh god, this chapter. Again, one of the things that was completely brushed over in the films. It's so sad because Order of the Phoenix is the longest book, but the shortest film. And it always makes me sad because it's such a good book and it should have got a longer film. It's just a phenomenal chapter. And when I find out what page it is on, chapter 34, page 674. There it is. Just running all around all the different rooms and finding all the different things. So, like, the brain that wraps Ron in the tentacles and, like, scorches him, scars him, whatever makes him go crazy. The Death Eater that ends up having, like, a baby's head that grows from being a baby into an adult and then back down to a baby again. And, like, there's just so many different rooms. The revolving door with the different doors where you put all the crosses on them, and just everything that goes on in the Department of Mysteries is just so fantastic. And the fact that she had all the imagination to come up with this is great in the first place, but it's just one of my favourite things from the book. Number 3 is from I need to stop using this book. Number 3 again from Order of the Phoenix is right at the beginning this time, chapter 2, I think it is. Yeah, chapter 2, A Peck of Owls. When Harry drags Dudley home from the Dementor attack and takes him into the living room, and Petunia and Vernon are furious and are like, what have you done to him? What have you done to him? Oh, it was a Dementor, blah, blah, blah. And Uncle Vernon's like, what's a Dementi what's it? Or whatever he calls them. Dementoids, Dementi what's it? There's several different names. And Petunia goes, they guard the wizard prison Azkaban. Chills, because up until that point in the books, we are at book 5, Harry is now 15 years old by this point, has never once heard his aunt and uncle talk about his parents in anything other than a negative way, and has never heard them acknowledge even the word wizard. She all of a sudden spits out this random piece of information that she remembers, and it's like, Petunia? What? Where did that come from? And it's just seeing the look on Vernon's face when he's like, I'm sorry, you what? You acknowledge this? But it's just a great kind of little nod to, like, the fact that she is human and she lost her sister. And it's like, you don't really think of her like that because her and Vernon are so horrible to Harry, but she did lose part of her family that she very much, I think she actually secretly adored Lily. She was just so jealous that it sort of got in the way of that, but I think she really does miss her. And so that is, like, number 3 on my list. Dropping the book. Don't do that, don't do that. Number 2 is, I've written here, let me quote what I've written. Just the entire plot of this book is my number 2 on the list. Because how, just the plot. Goblet of Fire is a really close second for my favourite book, I think, because the plot is just astounding in this book. Because of just the whole thing of Barty Crouch Jr. being moody and he sort of hoodwinking his father and putting everyone under the Imperius Curse, and everybody thinking that he's dead when in reality it was his mother that died because they swapped them out in Azkaban prison. Oh my god, how cool. When that reveal happened, I was just like, what? The first time I was reading it, I was like, that's so cool. That's such a cool thing. Who would even think that? And, like, the fact that Winky was covering up the entire time that Barty Crouch Jr. was there at the tournament, and then the whole thing as well with Rita Skeeter being an unregistered animagus. Like, who saw that coming? I mean, obviously when you read it back, the information is there, like the beetle on Hermione's hair at the Triwizard Tournament, and the beetle on the statue when Hagrid's telling Madame Maxime about the fact that he's half giant, and it's all there, but you just don't see it. And Hermione, like, figuring it out when they say, have you got the Cameroon bugged or something? Like, I have no words. Just fantastic. Who thinks of this? Oh, well, J.K. Rowling, obviously. But that's what makes this book so fantastic, is just the overarching plot and just the fantastic sub things going on. I love it. But yeah, so the entire plot of this book is my number 2, because it's just So great. I love it. And then that brings us to number 1. And we're back to this bad boy. I mean, pretty much this whole book might as well have just been on my favourites list. My absolute favourite part of every single bit of all these books is chapter 37, The Lost Prophecy. This chapter makes me weep every single time. So this is after they've been to the Department of Mysteries and they've come back and Harry's been portkeyed into Dumbledore's office on his own, and he's like, what am I going to do with my life? I've lost Sirius. Everything is just a hellhole. And Dumbledore comes back and Harry is so infuriated with himself and rage and sadness and despair. There's literally no words for it. And I think J.K. Rowling did a fantastic thing in this where she literally made Harry kind of speechless. He just sort of stands there and is like, I don't care, like, about anything. I just want out. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to deal with this anymore. And she did a phenomenal thing of being able to summarise that in a feeling that you can't express. And I just feel it squeeze my chest to death every time I read this bit of the chapter, which is when he's screaming and crying at Dumbledore and he's smashing up the office. I think it is an absolutely spectacular section of text because you can just feel the rage pulsing through him at him just destroying Dumbledore's things. And I think it's just spectacular the way Dumbledore just lets him do it, gets all his anger out, and Harry just wants to rip every part of him to death because he's been so angry for the whole year and no one understands why. And then this was just like the straw that broke the camel's back, and he just loses it, and it just makes me bawl every single time. It's gut-wrenching, it's heart-wrenching, and it's phenomenal, and it has always been and will always be my favourite part of all the books. Okay, so I've just realised another bit which I'm going to add on as like an honourable mention onto the end of this, which I forgot to put on my list even though it is my favourite moment, and I even have it written on a cushion, which is, I don't even need to say anything other than, have a biscuit, Potter. That's just one of my favourite moments. Makes me laugh every time. My only other honourable mention is the last bit of the Deathly Hallows when Harry and Voldemort are squaring off in the Great Hall, and Harry is giving him that whole kind of speech of like, you don't understand why it didn't work for you, huh, idiot. And Voldemort's like, it doesn't matter why it didn't work for me, I'll still win, lol, 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 lol. No, you won't, you're literally a dickhead, shut up, stop talking. So that is my list, that is my top 10, top 12, really, with the honourable mentions, moments from the books from Harry Potter. I hope you enjoyed hearing my moments, my favourite moments. If you have any other favourite moments that I didn't mention, please comment down below. I would love to hear yours. And if you haven't read the books, go and read the books. Just please, because they're so fantastic, and they make my life better. I probably read them like once a year easily without fail. Every year I just kind of get to this point where I'm like, well, I'm going to read them again. So that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!